Respected Mr. Kumar sir, fellow panelists and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Hemant Sharma. I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm vice chairperson for an organization called Business Software Alliance, which is BSA. It's a non-profit organization promoting a safe and legal digital world. Most of the technology companies in India and international companies are member of this organization. So basically, this organization has presence in 80 countries with their headquarters in Washington. The idea of this organization is that we work very collaboratively with the government in terms of policy making, in terms of writing laws, in terms of enforcement and all. So without I have a presentation, but I didn't want to delve too much into the presentation because we had such a distinguished guest over here who spoke about the security and information technology. There is a analogy which people draw that information technology is similar to human brain, right? If you could use it effectively, it could change the entire world. But if you put it to misuse, it could just create a havoc for everybody. This is the same story for the information technology. That if you misuse it, the things we spoke about 9/11, we spoke about a lot of terrorism activity which happens in India and elsewhere. So it's all about how do you use it actually. There was a lady in the previous session which spoke about that we do have law, but we do not enforce it. Sometimes we wonder that technology is always a step ahead of law. The reason is simple. Creating technology is as complex as creating a law, but a law has to pass too many acid tests before it kind of gets introduced and it's put to the public welfare. And that's where it takes a little while before a law catches up with the technology. I think that's where what is important, that we have to have industry and the government partnership. We have enforcement agencies. We have a lot of people sometimes kind of think that in India there are not enough laws which protect information technology, which eventually protects our security and safety and everything. But we have enough provisions to that effect. But it's just that we have manpower which needs to be trained, which needs to be equipped well, which have to be provided with tool and all. So BSA has kind of worked very collaboratively with the government on three fronts. We help the governments in writing the legislations, because since we have presence in so many countries, we try to share best practices, what may be available in developed countries and could be mirrored in a place like India. So we help government in writing those legislations. We do work very collaboratively with the judiciary because the laws are evolving, the interpretation of legal statutes are evolving, and that's where we kind of try to work very closely with the judiciary. And third and the most important is the enforcement. We have law, we have interpretation of the law, but eventually what comes down is the enforcement of these laws at the state level, at the ground root level. And that's where it is important that we work very closely with the enforcement agencies like police, where we have to give them training, bring them up to the speed, how the technology is changing. They need to understand that a theft of laptop is not just the theft of laptop. What people, sometimes you wonder, you go to a mall or you go to a cinema theater, you don't want to leave your laptop behind. I think more than the hardware or the instrument itself, what matters to most of us is the information which is available on the laptop. Recently, in my wife lost her mobile phone, and it's one of those smartphones which you are very attached to. But after she lost the phone, and she's not worrying about the instrument per se. She's worrying about the data out there, which is her personal data, which is the photograph, the contact details, the messages, and all that. But if you go to a police station and you tell somebody that I have lost a laptop and mobile, the figure remains in their head is that laptop and the mobile, and you cannot kind of complain or blame them, right? That's the way our structure has been. We speak about technology changes happening. We speak about rest of the world is catching up, introducing such sophisticated technology. But what is it that we have done at our level? Enforcement agencies have taken a lot of steps, but still there is a lot to be done, a lot to be achieved, and that's where we need to kind of associate with these enforcement agencies and kind of equip them whatever is available in the market out there. that's where, we at BSA we call it capacity building initiative, and that's where we are kind of partnering with a lot of government agencies, including the police, including the customs, and I just spoke about the judiciary. We collaborated with two prestigious police training academics, namely Biju Patnaik State Police Academy, Odisha, and Rajasthan Police Academy. We conducted workshops with the police personnel who get trained there, because basically they do have fundamental knowledge that whenever there's a cyber crime or whenever there's a cyber warfare, what is that they need to do. But, what are the best methods of investigation one needs to do? Some gentlemen spoke about that when you are kind of doing a forensic investigation, you have to be very careful with the hardware and the software part of it, that how you kind of extract information from the hard disk and kind of use it to your own benefit. But that's where the training comes in, and that's where the experts from the industry, like the organizations which are member of BSA, I'm sure there are a lot of people in this room, who are technology expert. They need to collaborate with the enforcement agency. Because it's very easy to tell that, if I go to the police with a particular complaint which is within the cyber law framework, they do not respond. But when have we equipped them? We have never done that bit of effort from our side as the industry. Our engineers are writing codes and writing software for the countries in US, in Europe, which is being put to use, and then there was this I think this was the decade event when Osama bin Laden got caught. But eventually one has to understand there were a lot of engineers who were writing those technology, whether in the text form or in the voice form, which kind of helped them to nail that terrorist or so many other criminals. And if you come to think of it, there are a lot of brains behind it, and a lot of those brains are from the India. But we never kind of empower our people here in India. I've been attended some of the training sessions with the judges, for that matter. Forget about the police forces, and we speak to them about the very basic IP rights and all. And sometimes they give us a very surprising reaction that how the law is evolving in some of the other countries where the technology is changing so fast. And the good news is that people have kind of gotten aware to these changes. They have gotten, they have kind of started showing inclination towards learning it. There was a time, I think 10 years ago, if there was a cyber crime, it used to take days and days to find out the IP address from where the crime originated. But in recent times, we've seen some of the crimes which are being kind of nailed down by the police. They are very swift. They have been able to find out the person. They have been able to find out the IP addresses. They have been able to find out the addresses, whether it's a corporate crime or it's a crime in this civil society. So the police has kind of gotten into their action, their mode. But it's just that we have to extend our help and association so that they are very well equipped and trained, because eventually it's the training of our personnel who are responsible for enforcement on the ground, which is going to make the changes. And we have to change this mindset that it is everything what you see is useful. The tangibility, of course, is important. If there is a hardware, then only a software can run. But one has to understand there are a lot of intangible assets, information, and valuable things are available which are not seen, but which are as critical as some of the tangible assets which are seen. And that's the mindset we have to change within the enforcement agencies, within the common public. A gentleman spoke about the language. I completely agree with that point of view. We have organizations who are part of BSA who may have operations in almost 100 countries. A lot of the countries have emphasized that the software which we develop for the local usage, it has to be in the local language. But they've been able to achieve that because their education system is such that a lot of higher study is kind of imparted in the local language. Whether it's Korea or China or Greater China, higher study is imparted in the local language, and that's why even if you kind of provide them technology in the local language, they are able to use it. But if you look around within India, our higher studies are pretty much predominantly in English, right? So if a software or if an application provider is coming to India, at the end of the day, they have to look at the market and commercial viability, and that's why they kind of get tied up. Of course, it's easy to provide the English language-based software and application. So I think there are a lot of system changes which need to be brought about, starting from the very fundamental grass level, whether it's education, training, empowering our personnel with the latest tools and technologies. But we just cannot look to the government and think, oh, that they are the one who are going to do that. They are going to make the investment in terms of money, efforts, and technology. I think as associations or as the industry, we have to extend our arm to see that, we kind of equip them well enough to achieve, make these objectives achieved. Besides the point, I think what is important is that we have to realize that security, we talked about security threats, it starts from each one of us individually. We kind of do a lot of marketing or a lot of consumer activity on the net these days. People are very careful, when they are filling in their financial details and financial information on the net while they're making those purchases happening. But one has to remember that there are people who are professional, who want to go behind that and kind of extract that information and put to misuse. So we have to be very careful how do we use our own information, whether that's personal information, professional information, whether it's in the financial segment or health segment, because it's when we say it's a virtual world out there, there are a lot of people who have access to these technologies, to these information, and you just cannot have a foolproof plan unless you are proactive, unless you are aware that what is it that we as individuals need to do. If we are able to achieve that at our individual capacity, I think the society is going to be much safer. So I think that's the critical aspect. As we kind of take care of our own goods and assets, we have to be very careful how we treat our information, because our information, as I mentioned, that intangible, valuable asset which is out there in the air is something which can be put to misuse. And if that, it goes into wrong hands, that's where the problem lies. I don't have, much to elaborate upon, because the only thing, I would want to emphasize is, if we want our boundaries to be secured, if we want our country, our people and property to be secured, it will have to be in a public and a private collaboration, where organizations like the members of my association provide the technology, and the government, which has the resources, investment, and people who kind of take up the enforcement part of that, actually. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Sunil Abraham, and I work at the Center for Internet and Society in Bangalore. We are a policy research organization. I would claim, sir, that your organization, Business Software Alliance, is part of the problem, not part of the solution. For years, you have been demonizing free and open source software by spreading a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt amongst government officials about free and open source software. And at least some of the issues that the earlier speakers pointed out to, which is the existence of viruses on the desktops, would be completely wiped out if the police stations in this country adopted Linux as the desktop software. So, and even the training that you claim to be providing to the police officers, unfortunately, that training only protects the intellectual property rights of your member organizations. It does nothing at all. I went through the list as it was projected on the board. It does nothing at all to secure our nation. So I must say that you're part of the problem, sir. But I'm still very grateful that you have given money for this very important event. Thank you.
No, I respect your opinion, and you're free to have an opinion. At the end of the day, the debate about proprietary software and open source code, that is something which has been going on for a while with its own pros and cons. This could be a long debate, and I really don't want to take this session, for kind of answering that. But I'm not taking away the fact that you have some opinion, and I respect that opinion. But at the same time, you have to understand that the proprietary software, it does bring about certain benefits, and that's the reason it's been surviving, and that's the reason it's been flourishing. As far as the training part is concerned, it was not just about the IP protection. Actually, it was how to investigate. Actually, I'll be very happy to share with you what were the detailed training program we oriented while we worked with the police department. But I don't think this is the place where I would want to debate, because obviously I have my material and my input where I could establish why proprietary software is better than or not better than software. It's not about demonizing one technology versus other. I think in any given circumstances, one technology may suit over other. Right? That's the point, and both of them have to survive together. So I'm not taking away that fact, but at the same time, I would not agree that I am the part of the problem, because at the end of the day, the member companies who are part of the BSA, they have been instrumental and responsible for providing the infrastructure support and growth, information technology and everything. So I think we'll hold that discussion sometimes for later, because this is not the right forum to do that, right? Thank you. Cheers.